Welcome back to more Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. Last time we got through most of Orange Ocean, so this time we're starting off by finishing up level 6. Next up is stage 6. And first of all, I need to make a correction from last time. So in the previous stage, I said we found the final switch of Orange Ocean, but there is still one more switch to find in this stage. To get there, we need a UFO power-up from that area, and then we need to return here, drop down, and then use a charged laser to break through this, and here's the actual final switch of Orange Ocean. So with that out of the way, this stage is really difficult, so I'm wondering how well this is going to go. This area in particular tends to give me a lot of trouble because the UFO enemies fly around, very randomly, and I tend to fly into them like that. Luckily, it's very easy to get UFO back because of how many UFOs there are, and there is a maximum tomato if you take damage. Here we have a branching path. We're going to go through the top route, where we have two Poppy Bros Senior enemies to fight. Through the lower path, we have two Mr. Frosties instead. But that's not the only difference between the two routes. This section is different as well, and I find this a lot easier because you're given an invincibility candy, so it's a lot easier to simply fly through here, and make it through with full health and your power. This is where the two paths would reconverge. And here's our final encounter with the Meta Knights. If we didn't have UFOs still, this would actually be really difficult, for a few different reasons. First of all, there is ice here, so we would be sliding all over the place if we didn't have UFO. But something else makes this a lot easier as well. So with a fully charged UFO beam, you can actually fire through platforms. So we can stay really far away and still deal damage, making this a lot safer than if we had to go up to the enemies to deal damage. So overall, as long as you keep UFO through the previous areas, this shouldn't be too bad. And there's the boss of level 6. This is Meta Knight. For this fight, we're given a sword, and we actually can't drop it for this stage, so this is required. Overall, Meta Knight is probably one of the tougher bosses we've seen so far. He's very agile and very aggressive, and has quite the attack range as well. But as long as we're careful, trying to stay away when he's charging at us and dealing damage when we can, this shouldn't be too bad. And we have another piece of the Star Rod. And here's level 7, Rainbow Resort. So we're starting out with more ice, and a laser ability. This is a great place to have laser because we can simply bounce the lasers off of these corners to clear out a lot of the enemies from a safe distance. Which is good because we took a lot of damage from Meta Knight. Overall, that fight didn't go too badly, but I definitely want a heal as soon as possible. There is a healing item up there, I think I will go for that. There are a few blocks here that we can break that are fairly well hidden. And we do need to break through some of them for something later on. Here we have a burning enemy. Yeah, these are the blocks in question. So let's keep moving over here, where we have more of those blocks. We can kind of reach them from here, to break some of them. And now that we've broken a few of them, we want to go back over here to respawn the burning enemy. So now that we have burning, we have to be very careful not to drop it. It's very difficult to actually get through certain areas without also respawning a ton of enemies. So we need to carefully make our way up there, and use burning to break through the metal blocks. And there's another switch. So now that we've gone through there, that was very close. Sometimes that kind of catches me off guard, that stone enemy falling there, even though it actually can't deal damage. It just kind of, is a bit surprising having an enemy fall right next to you. And down here is stage 2. We have a very ominous tower here, and inside we have a mini-boss rush. So in this stage we have to fight every mini-boss, I'm pretty sure every mini-boss at least, starting with Poppy Bros Sr. Along the way we could get their powers, but I think I will stick with Sword for a bit. Here's Mr. TikTok. In the case of Crash and Mike, because those are screen clears, designed for a limited amount of uses, I do prefer Sword, for this. Next up is Mr. Frosty. So overall this isn't too bad so far, but there is an alternate path to this level. There's actually a secret entrance with tougher mini-bosses, which is kind of cool as an additional challenge. It's not required for 100% though, so it is possible to just go through the default route of this level and still get 100%, which is good if you're not up to the extra challenge. So in the previous area, we defeated Bonkers and switched over to Hammer. So next up is Fan Fan. I think I want to stick with Hammer for the rest of this though. Bugsy is up next, and this is the mini-boss I'm probably most worried about, partly because they don't appear much in this game, so I'm really not used to their attack patterns. Case in point, that was actually really close. I thought I would have ran into the boss while simply trying to get the power back. I say as I am taking a ton of damage, I need to be a lot more careful. I think I might switch from direct attacking to simply trying to counter, like so. I'm surprised that dealt damage. I thought it would have hit the smaller enemy and wouldn't have counted, but it did, so that worked out. Now we have to deal one more hit before we can move on to something else. I think I want this ability, even though I don't know how helpful Backdrop will be. We'll give this a try. So here is Fire Line. With Backdrop, we can't attack directly, but we can attack using these stars, like that. This feels a lot scarier, so I might not actually do that. I might switch back to simply using the stars like that instead. One or two more should be enough to defeat Fire Line, though. Looks like one more from here. So we need to just dodge one more attack, and we should be good to go, but that might be easier said than done. There we go. So we barely made it through there without losing a life. So up here, we have another Warp Star. So now that we've reached this area, we have a sword enemy and a Maxim Tomato. That would be the worst place to lose a life, right at the end of that gauntlet, losing to the regular enemy. So, next up is stage 3. And this is a fairly memorable stage from what I recall. Actually, most of Rainbow Resort is pretty memorable, for better or worse. Some of the stages I remember for not so great reasons, which we'll get to a little bit later. This is probably one of the worst areas to lose a power because it would be very difficult to actually get it back, depending on how the star bounces. So luckily we were able to hold on to Sword, but oftentimes I do drop abilities here, and I can't get them back in time. I'm not even gonna worry about that, we're simply going to try to get out of here as quickly as possible. So we have an invincibility candy, very well timed. This would be a lot tougher to get through without invincibility. And it's kind of interesting that they do give you invincibility fairly frequently. It does make some of the tougher levels seem a little bit less scary, knowing that there's invincibility nearby, but there's the goal. Up here is stage 4. And we're starting out with a ball enemy. I'm really not sure if I'll stick with ball, but we'll try this out, see how this goes. So yeah, as long as you can keep bouncing in such a way that you're invincible when you run into an enemy, you're good to go, but that's often easier said than done. I might lose a life in this stage, now that I think about it. I remember something in this stage very distinctly. I might actually lose a life on purpose here, just to get back to full health. So when you lose a life, you start back in the same room where you lost a life, so you don't lose that much progress, which is good. This game is fairly forgiving in terms of, like, difficulty, and it is good to just have full health. We were inevitably going to lose health somewhere in this stage, so might as well get it over with. And in that area, it was also a lot easier to lose the health because of just how much the enemies are bouncing around. So we have several fairly similar looking rooms here with a different set of blocks and enemies in them to help distinguish the areas. Here we have a fairly scary looking sequence. We have to slide under there, but we also have to kind of time everything around the Gordos and the regular enemies falling. So yeah, we have to be very careful as we slowly make our way through that section. Here we have a crash bomber, so we have to be careful when it falls. Now we have to climb up. So there's a 1-up behind those Gordos. By breaking that bomb block, we can get there safely. And then here we have to do a similar, we have to use a similar method to get to the next area, basically breaking the bomb blocks to clear a path so we don't have to pass directly where the Gordos are. So we can simply fly up to the goal. And next up is stage 5. Now, this stage is a stage I very distinctly remember, and not really for good reasons. This stage has one of the toughest secrets to get, and it's completely optional. On my first playthrough, I spent a very long time trying to get this secret, and then ended up, finding out it was not for a Switch and was instead just for extra lives. So that wasn't fun. This section here is also fairly difficult, because we have these different air currents pushing us around, so we have to carefully make our way around, like so. Oh, that's not good. Again, I might lose a life on purpose just to have full health later on. Alright, so let's keep moving. Here, you could use wheel or burning to get through these currents a little bit faster instead of having to float through, but this is still fine. Well, there's the exit, and through here, this area is an area I very much dislike. So we have a fuse here, but this is probably the toughest cannon to get in the entire game, and it's not even for anything particularly worthwhile. It's basically just for extra lives, so I'm actually going to skip past that and go straight to the goal. And over here is stage 6. Stage 6 is very special. It's a throwback level to Kirby's Dream Land for the Game Boy. We're starting out in green greens. I like how the level is monochrome to reference the Game Boy aesthetic. We've moved on to this little forest area. Interestingly enough, a lot of the Kirby games have throwback levels to Dreamland. The most notable is probably Superstar, but oddly enough, this area here is actually left out entirely. This, I'm pretty sure it's called Castle Lololo in Dreamland, and this is where you fight Lololo and Lalala originally, but then they were moved to the next stage for the Spring Breeze remake in Superstar. There was also a cut boss called Kabula, who was actually brought back in Superstar Ultra in Revenge of the King. So yeah, it's very interesting how a lot of games reference Dreamland, but Superstar is probably the most noteworthy because of Spring Breeze. We had to basically cause that to fall so we can safely pass under. This is very reminiscent of Dreamland. It is kind of cool how they were able to recreate it here. So here we have another exit, so let's see where this takes us. Now we're in the 4th stage. There are plenty of Scarfies here, so let's carefully fly through all of that and make our way inside. So yeah, I'm not really as familiar with Dreamland as a lot of the other Kirby games, so unfortunately I don't get all of the references here, but it is very cool. I actually kind of want to redo that playthrough as well, because I did do a playthrough of Dreamland a long time ago. So over here there's a moon that actually is a hidden pathway. So we can fall down here for another full heal, a 1-up, and the final switch. And with that, we've reached the end of the final regular stage of Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland. And with that, we've opened the way to the final boss. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland.